Hi guys. I thought for today's video I'd talk a little bit about psychiatry, about the mental health system, mental health doctors, hospitals. Um, First and foremost, my illness went undiagnosed for quite a few months before I went to hospital. And the reason for that partly is because I got unwell in 95, 96, and that was called the Britpop era. And what the Britpop era was about was, for the first time in human history, we had the internet. For the first time in the history of the planet, people could exchange concepts and ideas and different media formats across the whole planet. And even though the internet wasn't as advanced in those days in terms of speed and subtlety, they had something called BBS, which is bulletin board systems and peer-to-peer networks. And when the Britpop era and the internet era were sort of starting off together, a lot of people didn't really know what was going on. The internet was brand new. For the first time in history, human beings were able to, for want of a better word, be telepathic with concepts or a kind of pseudo telepathy because of the internet. And that is partly the reason why my illness went undiagnosed for a few months. Um, and I made the mistake of, when I was really young, I made the mistake of lying to the doctors about my symptoms. I told the doctors that my voices had stopped when they hadn't, because I wanted to get out of hospital. I didn't find hospital a comfortable place at all to begin with. I actually had a condition called akathisia, which you may or may not have heard of, but akathisia is a kind of really bad restlessness that I had for a few months in hospital. Um, and I had substance abuse problems too, so I just wanted to get out of hospital so I could smoke more drugs or whatever. Um, the best thing I can say about psychiatry is that it's beautifully unpredictable. It really is a bit of a potluck thing when you're told that you're going to hospital. You're never really quite sure what to expect, um, unless you go to a secure hospital or even some of the medium secure hospitals. You can never really tell what it's going to be like. You can't predict what the other patients are going to be like. You can't really predict the temperaments and the qualifications of the staff that are going to be taking care of you. Geography. I mean, some hospitals are out in the middle of nowhere, some are in major cities. It's kind of beautifully unpredictable. Um, One thing I will say though is if you're told you're going to a private hospital because there's no NHS beds left, private hospital sounds kind of cool. It sounds kind of like, almost posh, but it's not the case. Private hospital just generally means underfunded hospitals. They don't have the same financial liquidity that NHS places have got. Um, I would recommend, like, not lying to the psychiatrists. I would seriously recommend that you just put your cards out on the table because they've probably heard it all before. I think they more or less know when you're telling porcupines. Um, and they'll use what's known as passive interrogation techniques or open ended questions. Um, but yeah, the mental health system. I mean, right now, I want to go back to hospital. I miss hospital. I've been out in the community now, or the wider community, for about 22, 23 months. I kind of miss the place. I'm told there's a possibility that some ex-patients can become support workers, but I think I'm too controversial for that. The other thing about psychiatry is that it doesn't impose a belief system on people. There are quite a few groups out there, um, some religious, some not so religious, that will offer help to people suffering teenage angst, or maybe at any age, but there's all kinds of groups out there. I'm not going to mention any names, but they will latch onto someone and they'll provide help. They'll provide practical help, but don't expect you to adopt an ideology or a belief system, a religious or pseudo-religious belief system. The mental health doesn't do that. You'll find some of the staff will be religious. I met quite a few black guys that were Methodists, and they were really cool. There were night nurses in a hospital in Manchester, and they were Methodists, and they were cool. Um, but it's and the other common misconception is that like in hospital it's just drugs. All you're going to do is get drugged. I mean, I phoned up the Ministry of Intelligence years ago saying that people were being illegally drugged. But in my experience, I have had more than just um, pharmaceutical intervention. I've had um, acupuncture done, guided guided fantasies. I've had massage done, of a very gentle massage done, aromatherapy, mindfulness, occupational therapy. You know, patients are encouraged to be creative. Well, a lot of them aren't creative because they're too scared to face their own creative genius. Um, and it's unpredictable. I mean, I can't really understand what the psychiatrists have to do in different cultures. I've got no idea how the mental health system functions in different continents, different countries. I don't even think it's going to be very similar, even in different European countries. So it's quite unfathomable to look at the whole international aspect of psychiatry. Um, if I wanted to, I could probably convince another patient that I was a doctor. I couldn't convince the rest of the doctors that I was a doctor, but yeah, I've heard stories about patients that wear suits and pretend to be doctors and stuff like that. I kind of miss hospital, you know, but there's no beds. I actually spoke to a lady who works as an OT in this county. OT means occupational therapist. And I said to her that I miss hospital, and she just said that there's so many people that are stuck in the system that can't find accommodation elsewhere. They're just sort of like languishing in hospital, waiting for a flat or a bed set or something like that. But yeah, when I look back upon all the experiences I've had in hospital, I do get quite bewildered about the complexity of the whole situation. But I think I've well and truly compensated. I did have some bad karma because I slagged off the mental health system in some videos 12 years ago. But so far, I've done on this channel 59 out of 60 positive videos. And the only negative video I made was about my own symptoms. So that was kind of a reflective journey with myself rather than attacking any individuals or facets of society. But my best advice would be if you're going into the mental health system, just tell the doctors the truth. You know, you're better off telling them the truth and doing a year of intensive treatment and going through what they call the revolving door syndrome, which is where you keep going in and out of hospital for ages. Just tell them the truth. I mean, obviously, if something criminals happens, you might not want to do that, but that's your karma to deal with. But ultimately, I wish that I just told them the truth. But like I said, when I had my illness, 95, 96, that was the Britpop era. That was the birth of the internet. That was the birth of synthetic telepathy, or a mind connected to another mind via the medium and the lens of the internet and computer technology. And this is why my illness went undiagnosed. And I think it did for a lot of people, because nobody really knew what was going on. You know, least of all the musicians of the period probably swept away in some kind of psychosis all of their own. Um, but yeah, that's it was a 10-minute video, just some free, unrehearsed thoughts about psychiatry and the way I feel about it as a 46-year-old. Thanks.